Sign them. My father's voice cut through the silence of his mahogany-lined office, the papers spread before me on his massive desk. Sign them now, James, or you can forget about being part of this family. I stared at the documents, my grandfather's inheritance transfer papers, feeling the weight of my father's demand pressing down on me like a physical force. At 32, I'd spent my entire life trying to earn his approval, but this was different. You want me to sign over my entire inheritance to Marcus? I kept my voice steady, though my hands wanted to shake. Everything Grandpa left me. Your brother's business needs capital, my father said, adjusting his Italian silk tie. He has vision, James. Real vision. Not like your. He waved his hand dismissively. Accounting work. Accounting work. He made it sound like a hobby, not the successful private practice I'd built from scratch over the last decade. But then again, he'd always seen Marcus's ventures as visionary, even when they failed spectacularly. The inheritance is worth $4.2 million, I said quietly. Grandpa left it to me specifically, because he didn't understand business. My father's fist hit the desk. Marcus has connections, opportunities. This investment could triple in 6 months. As usual, you're thinking too small. I thought about my grandfather's last words to me, his weathered hands gripping mine. Take care of it, James. You're the only one who understands its true value. What my father didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I'd spent the last 3 months quietly investigating Marcus's latest opportunity. The numbers didn't add up. None of them did. Where are the business plans? I asked, buying time. The projections. My father sighed dramatically. Always with the details. This is family, James. Trust should be enough. Trust. Like when Marcus borrowed my college fund for his first failed startup. Or when he convinced our parents to remortgage their house for his tech venture that never launched. I stood up, straightening my jacket. I need time to think about this. No time, my father snapped. Marcus needs the capital now. Sign the papers, or you're out. No more family dinners. No more holidays. No more connection to the Harrison name. I looked at him, really looked at him. The man who'd taught me to ride a bike, who'd once been my hero, was willing to cut me off completely to fund another of Marcus's schemes. Is that really what you want, Dad? His expression hardened. What I want is a son who understands family loyalty. Marcus has real potential. You play it safe. Count other people's money. Is that really what you want? I thought about the audit reports hidden in my office safe. The irregular transactions I'd traced. The offshore accounts in Marcus's name. No, I said finally. It's not what I want. My father's face relaxed. Good. Then sign. What I want, I continued, is a family that values me as much as they value Marcus. What I want is for someone to ask why Grandpa chose me to manage his legacy. James. What I want, I picked up my briefcase, is for you to remember this moment, because everything that happens next, it's your choice, not mine. I walked out of his office, ignoring his demands to come back. My phone started buzzing immediately. Mom. Marcus, even my sister Sarah, joining the guilt campaign. I turned it off. At my office, I opened the safe and pulled out the files I'd compiled. 3 months of careful investigation, following the money trail through Marcus's various ventures. What I'd found wasn't just bad business. It was fraud. My brother had been running a sophisticated Ponzi scheme, using each new investment to pay off previous investors while skimming millions for himself. The evidence was clear, documented and damning. I'd hoped it wouldn't come to this. Had prayed my family would see reason before I had to make the choice between protecting them and doing what was right. My phone rang again. My father's office number. I let it go to voicemail. James, stop being childish. Come back and sign the papers. Your brother's future depends on this. Don't make me choose between my sons. But he already had. He'd been choosing Marcus over me our entire lives. I opened my laptop and composed 2 emails. The first went to the SEC, attaching the evidence I'd gathered. The second went to my own lawyer, initiating the process I'd prepared for but hoped to avoid. Then I made one phone call. Detective Miller, it's James Harrison. Remember those files we discussed? I'm ready to move forward. The detective's voice was grave. Are you sure about this, James? Once we start, there's no going back. I'm sure. My father just gave me an ultimatum. Sign over my inheritance or leave the family. I chose option 3. Which is, I chose justice. The next morning, as I packed my office essentials into a small bag, my secretary rushed in. "Mr. Harrison, your brother's on every news channel." I turned on the TV, mounted on my wall. Sure enough, there was Marcus, being led out of his office in handcuffs. The ticker at the bottom read, "Tech CEO arrested in major investment fraud case." My phone exploded with notifications. iPhone exploded with notifications. Texts from my father ranged from fury to desperation. "What have you done? This is your fault. Fix this now." I turned off my phone again, handed my secretary an envelope with her severance pay and a glowing recommendation letter, and walked out of my office for the last time. The safe house I'd arranged was modest but secure. As I settled in, Detective Miller called with an update. "Your brother's singing like a canary," he said. "Trying to cut a deal. He's implicated your father in knowing about the fraud." I closed my eyes. Any evidence to support that? Nothing concrete yet. But we're looking. After hanging up, I sat in the quiet of my temporary home, thinking about choices and consequences. My father had given me an ultimatum, never imagining I'd choose a path he hadn't offered. The news coverage expanded throughout the day. More victims came forward. The scale of Marcus's fraud grew from millions to tens of millions. My father's company's stock plummeted as investors panicked. My sister Sarah called from a blocked number. I answered, against my better judgment. "How could you do this to us?" she demanded. "To your own brother. How could you all stand by and watch him steal from innocent people?" "It was business," she protested. "Everyone cuts corners." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Is that what you call a Ponzi scheme now? Cutting corners?" "Dad's devastated. Mom won't stop crying." "Was your revenge worth destroying our family?" "I didn't destroy our family, Sarah. Marcus did that when he decided to become a criminal. Dad did it when he tried to force me to fund it. You're doing it right now by defending them." She was quiet for a moment. "What happens now?" Now I disappear for a while. Let everything play out." "You're running away." "No, Sarah. I'm standing my ground. It's just easier to do that from a distance." The next week passed in a blur of news updates and legal proceedings. Marcus was denied bail, deemed a flight risk. My father's company underwent a federal audit. More charges were filed. I watched it all from my safe distance, feeling not triumph but a deep, aching sadness. This wasn't what I'd wanted. I tried to warn them, tried to show them the evidence before going to authorities. They dismissed me, as they always had. Detective Miller kept me updated. "Your brother's looking at 15-20 years. Your father's company is cooperating with investigators, trying to distance themselves from the fraud. Your mother's hired a crisis management team." And my father? Silent. His lawyers advised him not to make any statements. I nodded, though he couldn't see me. "Detective, thank you for believing me when I first brought this to you. Numbers don't lie, James. You did the right thing. But doing the right thing came with a price. My family's name was dragged through the mud. Old friends distanced themselves. Business associates vanished. Yet through it all, I felt strangely peaceful. For the first time in my life, I'd stood up to my family's toxic dynamics. I'd chosen truth over comfort, justice over loyalty. My grandfather would have understood. 1 month after Marcus's arrest, I received a letter from him at my lawyer's office. "Dear James, I hope you're satisfied. You've destroyed everything our family built. Dad's company is in shambles. Mom's a wreck. All because you couldn't be a team player. I know you think you're better than me, with your careful accounting and your moral high ground. But let me tell you something. In here, I've met guys who make me look like an amateur. And when I get out, I'll rebuild. Better than ever. Remember that. Your loving brother, Marcus." I filed the letter with my lawyer. Another piece of evidence showing my brother's true character. That evening, as I sat in my temporary home, looking at old family photos, I realized something profound. My father's ultimatum, "sign or leave me," had been based on a false premise. Family isn't about blind loyalty or forced choices. Real family, the kind my grandfather had believed in, was about doing what's right, even when it hurts, about standing up for truth, even against those you love. I hadn't chosen to leave my family. I'd chosen to honor what family should be. The inheritance my grandfather left me wasn't just money. It was a test of character, a challenge to stand up for what's right. I think he knew, somehow, that this moment would come. That's why he chose me. As I packed away the photos, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was Sarah again. I talked to Detective Miller. Saw the evidence. God, James, why didn't we listen? I typed back. Because listening would have meant changing. And change is harder than blame. Can we talk? Really talk? I stared at her message for a long time. Perhaps this was the real inheritance. The chance to rebuild something honest from the ashes of what had fallen. Yes, I replied. But on one condition. Name it. We start with the truth. All of it. Okay, she wrote back. When? Soon, I promised. When the dust settles. I put down my phone and looked out the window at the setting sun. The truth was already settling, like dust after a storm, revealing what had always been there beneath the surface. My father had asked me to choose between family and integrity. I'd chosen both. 3 months after Marcus's arrest, I sat in a quiet cafe downtown, waiting for Sarah. She'd been persistent in her attempts to meet, and after reviewing everything with my lawyer, I decided it was time. She looked different when she walked in, thinner, less polished than her usual perfectionist appearance. The designer bags she normally carried were replaced by a simple purse, and her signature jewelry was noticeably absent. James, she said, sliding into the seat across from me. You look good. You look tired, I replied honestly. She laughed, but it wasn't her usual confident sound. That's what happens when your world implodes. Nobody tells you how exhausting scandal can be. The waiter brought our coffees, and for a moment, we sat in awkward silence. Dad's company is filing for bankruptcy, she finally said. The audit revealed more than just Marcus's fraud. There were irregularities. I nodded. I'd seen the news. How bad? Bad enough that Dad might face charges. Mom's talking about selling the house. Everything's falling apart, James. She leaned forward. Did you know about Dad's involvement? I suspected. The numbers didn't add up, even beyond Marcus's scheme. But I didn't have proof, and now it's not my problem. I sipped my coffee. I warned them, Sarah, multiple times. They chose not to listen. She wrapped her hands around her cup, staring into the dark liquid. I've been doing a lot of thinking about how we treated you, how I treated you. We were horrible, weren't we? You were caught up in the family dynamic. Marcus was the golden child. I was the cautious one, the boring one. It was easier to dismiss me than to question him. He called me from prison, she said quietly. Wanted me to put money in his commissary account. Said it was the least I could do after everything he'd done for me. And did you? She shook her head. No, that's actually why I wanted to meet. I found something in his old office when we were clearing it out. She reached into her purse and pulled out a folder. Inside were documents, loan agreements, transfer records, emails, all showing how Marcus had been embezzling from my father's company long before his Ponzi scheme began. He stole from everyone, she said, pushing the folder toward me. Even me. Remember that trust fund Mom and Dad set up for my kids' education? It's gone. He convinced me to invest it in one of his ventures last year. I reviewed the documents, feeling a familiar anger rise. Have you shown these to the authorities? Not yet. I wanted you to see them first. You were right about everything, James. And I'm so sorry I didn't believe you. I closed the folder and handed it back. Take these to Detective Miller. He'll know what to do with them. Will it help? With the case. It'll help ensure Marcus faces consequences for everything he's done, not just the Ponzi scheme. Sarah wiped away a tear. Mom keeps saying we need to support him. That he made mistakes but he's still family. I don't know how to tell her. I can't do that anymore. You don't owe them your silence, Sarah, or your support. Is that why you did it? Turned him in. I leaned back, considering my answer. I did it because it was right. Because every day, he continued, more people got hurt. But mostly, I did it because Grandpa trusted me to do the right thing. Grandpa always said you were the smart one. She smiled faintly. We thought he meant academically. But he meant morally, didn't he? He saw things clearly. without the family bias. Sarah reached across the table and touched my hand. I miss you, brother. The family dinners, the holidays, everything's so quiet now. Those dinners were built on lies, Sarah. The holidays were just performances. We can build something better, something real. How? By starting over, being honest, supporting each other and doing what's right, not what's easy. She nodded, squeezing my hand before letting go. I should get these to Detective Miller. But James, thank you for being strong enough to stop this, even when it meant losing everything. I didn't lose everything, I said. I just lost what wasn't real to begin with. After Sarah left, I sat there thinking about family, truth, and the cost of integrity. My phone buzzed with a text from Detective Miller. Your sister just arrived with new evidence. You okay? Getting there, I replied. Your father's asking to meet, says he has information to trade. I stared at the message, feeling the weight of another choice approaching. What kind of information? Claims he can prove other executives were involved. Wants immunity. Let me guess. He'll only talk to me. You know your father well. I did, which is exactly why I typed. Tell him no. Let him face the consequences like everyone else. It wasn't revenge. It was accountability, something our family had avoided for too long. That evening, I returned to my new apartment, no longer needing the safe house, now that everything was in the open. On my desk sat Grandpa's old leather journal, which I'd found among the inheritance paperwork. I opened it to the last entry, dated just weeks before his death. James will face a choice someday, between family loyalty and moral courage. I've watched him grow, seen his strength beneath the quiet. He'll choose right, and when he does, it will cost him. But some prices are worth paying. Some losses are really gains in disguise. I closed the journal, feeling a profound sense of peace. Grandpa had known this day would come. He'd prepared me for it in his own way. My phone rang. Mom's number. For the first time in months, I answered. James. Her voice was small, uncertain. I've left your father. I'm staying with your Aunt Linda. Are you okay? No, she admitted. But I'm trying to be. Sarah showed me the documents she found. I can't pretend anymore. I'm sorry, Mom. Don't be. You tried to warn us. We wanted to believe in the fantasy. The successful son, the perfect family. It was all a lie, wasn't it? Not all of it, I said softly. Just the parts we didn't want to question. She was quiet for a moment. Your grandfather would be proud of you. I know I haven't said that enough. Haven't shown it. But he would be. Thanks, Mom. Can we try again? Start over. I thought about Sarah's visit, about the weight of truth, and the possibility of rebuilding. Yes, I said. But slowly, honestly, that's all I ask. After hanging up, I walked to my window, looking out at the city lights. The family I'd grown up with was gone, shattered by truth and consequences. But maybe, from the pieces, we could build something stronger, something real. 6 months into the legal proceedings, I sat in the courthouse corridor, waiting for my father's arraignment. The media frenzy had died down, but the reality of our family's transformation was still unfolding. Marcus had pleaded guilty to multiple counts of fraud, accepting a deal for 12 years with the possibility of parole after 8. My father, facing his own charges of financial misconduct and conspiracy, had finally dropped the facade of innocence. James, I looked up to see him approaching, flanked by his lawyers. He'd aged years and months, his once immaculate appearance, now worn and tired. The expensive suits replaced by something more modest, more appropriate for a man facing criminal charges. Dad, I acknowledged, standing. Can we talk? Just for a minute. His lawyers exchanged glances, but stepped away, giving us space. I'm taking a plea deal, he said without preamble. 5 years, full cooperation with the investigation. I nodded. Detective Miller had already informed me. I wanted you to hear it from me, he continued. And I wanted to say something else. He paused, struggling with words that had never come easily to him.
You were right.
About everything. Marcus, the company, all of it. I was so focused on the image of success, that I couldn't see what was real anymore.
And now?
Now, he laughed bitterly. Now I see too clearly. The company I spent 30 years building is gone. My reputation is destroyed. My son's a convicted felon. And the only person who tried to prevent it all was the son I threatened to disown. I stayed silent, letting him continue. Your grandfather knew, didn't he? That's why he left everything to you. He saw what I couldn't. He saw who we really were, I said quietly. All of us. I found his letters, my father admitted. The ones warning me about Marcus's spending, about my own blind spots. I ignored them all, just like I ignored you. A court officer appeared at the end of the hall, signaling it was time. I have to go, my father said. But James, I'm sorry, not for getting caught, not for losing everything, but for failing you as a father, for making you choose between right and wrong. He extended his hand. After a moment's hesitation, I shook it. Good luck, Dad. As I watched him walk away, I felt an unexpected sense of closure. Not forgiveness, exactly, but understanding. He was finally facing the truth about himself, about the family he'd created and destroyed. Outside the courthouse, Sarah was waiting. How did it go? She asked, falling into step beside me. He's taking the plea deal. 5 years, Mom's relieved. She was worried he'd tried to fight it, drag everything out longer. We walked to a nearby park, finding a quiet bench away from the courthouse crowds. The trust fund documents are being revised, I told her. Once everything's settled, we can start rebuilding the education fund for your kids. She shook her head. You don't have to do that. I want to. That's what family should be about, not supporting each other, not exploiting each other. Sarah pulled out her phone, showing me a message. Marcus wrote again, says he's found God in prison, wants to make amends. And what do you think? I think he's trying to manipulate us. Again, she put the phone away. I'm done falling for it. I smiled, proud of her growing strength. How's Mom doing at her new job? After leaving our father, Mom had taken a position at a local library. It was a far cry from her previous life of luxury, but she seemed more genuine, more herself than I'd ever seen her. She's actually happy, Sarah said, says it's peaceful, being around books instead of lies. My phone buzzed, an email from my lawyer. The last of Marcus's assets had been seized, being liquidated to repay his victims. It wasn't enough to make everyone whole, but it was something. Do you ever regret it? Sarah asked suddenly, exposing everything. I thought about Grandpa's journal, about the choice he'd known I'd have to make. No, I said finally. I regret that it was necessary. I regret the pain it caused, but not the truth itself. The country club ladies still whisper about us, she said, laughing slightly. Can you believe that's what I used to care about? What people whispered. And now I care about what's real. My kids, my relationship with you and Mom, building something honest. A notification popped up on my phone. Detective Miller asking if I'd testify at an upcoming hearing about corporate fraud. They were using our family's case as an example, hoping to prevent similar schemes. Do it, Sarah encouraged, reading over my shoulder. Help others learn from our mistakes. I typed a quick agreement, then turned back to my sister. Have dinner with me tonight. There's something I want to discuss. Later, over pasta at my apartment, I laid out my plans. I'm starting a foundation, I told her, using part of Grandpa's inheritance. It'll provide resources for whistleblowers, support for families affected by financial fraud, education about corporate ethics. Sarah's eyes lit up. That's perfect. It's like turning poison into medicine. I want you involved, I continued. Your experience, your perspective, it could help others recognize the warning signs we missed for so long. You trust me with that. After everything, you've changed, Sarah. We all have. That's the point. She wiped away tears, nodding. When do we start? We already have. Every truth we've faced, every step we've taken toward honesty. It's all part of the foundation we're building. That night, after Sarah left, I opened Grandpa's journal again, finding strength in his words. The greatest inheritance I can leave isn't money or property. It's the courage to stand for truth, even when that truth hurts. James understands this. One day, others will too. I added my own entry below his. The truth did hurt, Grandpa. It broke everything we thought we were. But from those broken pieces, we're building something stronger, something real. Thank you for showing me the way. 1 year to the day after Marcus's arrest, I stood at my grandfather's grave, placing fresh flowers beside his headstone. The autumn breeze rustled through the trees, carrying with it the scent of change. You were right about everything, I said softly. About the choices I'd have to make, about the strength I'd need. Behind me, I heard footsteps on the grass. Mom and Sarah approached, each carrying their own flowers. It had become our monthly ritual, visiting Grandpa together, sharing our progress, our healing. I met with the first group of whistleblowers today, Sarah said, arranging her flowers. The foundation's already making a difference. People are coming forward, exposing fraud, before it destroys more families. Mom touched the headstone gently. Your father would be proud of what you've built from this, James. Not just the foundation, but the truth it stands for. We'd received word last week that Dad was teaching business ethics to fellow inmates, using our family's story as a cautionary tale. It wasn't redemption, but it was something like progress. Marcus sent another letter, I told them. He's still trying to justify everything, but there's something different this time. Different how? Sarah asked. He admitted he was wrong, not just about the fraud, but about how he treated everyone. Said he finally understands what Grandpa meant about the value of integrity. Mom wiped away a tear. Do you believe him? I believe he's learning. Whether that learning sticks, that's up to him. The foundation had grown beyond my initial vision. We'd partnered with ethics professors, corporate watchdogs, and reform advocates. Sarah's personal story had become a powerful teaching tool, showing how easy it was to become complicit in wrongdoing when family loyalty overshadowed moral courage. The house sold yesterday, Mom said quietly. I thought it would hurt more, letting go of that life, but it feels like freedom. She'd moved into a comfortable apartment, started writing a memoir about her journey from denial to acceptance. The advance from the publisher would help fund the foundation's educational programs. Remember those Sunday dinners? Sarah asked. Everyone, pretending everything was perfect. I prefer our Thursday pizza nights. I smiled. No pretense, no performance, just us, being real. We'd started the weekly tradition 3 months ago. Sometimes it was just the three of us. Sometimes we included others. Survivors of financial fraud, families rebuilding after similar betrayals. Always honest, always healing. My phone buzzed. Detective Miller's number. The SEC is using our case study in their new training program, he reported. Your grandfather's legacy is helping reshape how we approach financial crimes. He'd like that, I said, using truth to protect others. After ending the call, I shared the news with Mom and Sarah. We stood there in the cemetery, 3 survivors of a storm we'd never expected, stronger for having weathered it together. I found more of his journals, Mom said, in the house, while packing. He wrote about each of us, about his hopes and fears. He saw everything so clearly. He saw us clearly, Sarah corrected, the good and the bad. He loved us enough to hope we'd choose right eventually. I touched the headstone one last time. We're trying, Grandpa. Every day, we're trying. As we walked back to our cars, Sarah linked her arm through mine. The Foundation's annual Ethics Award ceremony is next month. We're honoring 5 whistleblowers who exposed corporate fraud. Would you give the keynote speech? I asked Mom. Share your perspective on choosing truth over comfort. She nodded, surprising me with her quick acceptance. A year ago, she would have hidden from such public acknowledgement of our family's fall. Now she understood the power of her story. Life's too short for lies, she said simply. Your grandfather taught me that, through you. Later that evening, in my office, I added a final entry to Grandpa's last journal. 1 year after choosing truth over family loyalty, I realized I didn't lose my family. I found it. The real one, hidden beneath years of pretense. You knew this would happen, Grandpa. You knew the price of truth would be worth paying. Thank you for teaching me that some inheritances aren't about money at all. They're about the courage to stand firm, the strength to face truth, and the wisdom to build something better from the ashes of what falls away. We're okay now. Different, but okay. And that's the greatest inheritance of all. I closed the journal, placed it back in its honored spot on my shelf, and turned to the window. The city lights sparkled below, each one a reminder that truth, no matter how difficult, always lights the way forward. We'd lost the family we pretended to be, but found the family we were meant to be. And in that discovery, we'd finally honored the legacy my grandfather had always hoped we'd understand. Some choices break things that need breaking, to build something stronger in their place. That was his final lesson, and we'd finally learned it. The end.